Manchester City has been one of the greatest clubs in England for the past decade, and in the 2022-23 season, there were no signs of letting that slide away. Despite losing some key players like Sterling, who joined Chelsea, and both Gabriel and Zinchenko, who joined Arsenal, Manchester City was able to secure other notable players including Manuel Akanji, Julian Alvarez, Calvin Phillips, Sergio Gomez, Erling Haaland, among others. These new signings would later have a greater impact on the club's run of the 2022-23 season. Things started off really bad for Manchester City as they faced Liverpool FC in the Community Shield final, losing 3-1, with their only goal being scored by Julian Alvarez on his debut. Another new signing, Erling Haaland, went on to score his first 2 goals for the club on his debut as the Blues won their first league game 2-0 against West Ham United. After a 4-0 victory over Bournemouth and a 3-3 draw against Newcastle, the Blues were second in the league table, only 2 points behind Arsenal. On the other side of European football, City defeated Sevilla 4-0 in Spain in their Champions League group opener. By late September and the first international break of the season, City were second in the league, 1 point behind Arsenal and ahead of Spurs on goal difference, with a record of 5 wins and 2 draws, extending their unbeaten away run in their league to 22 games. In October, both Haaland and Phil Foden scored hat-tricks as City went on to win the Manchester Derby with a score of 6-3. After drawing 1-1 against Copenhagen in the Champions League group matches, City tightened their chances to proceed to the round of 16 tie, as Sevilla and Dortmund had also drawn 1-1. In the same month, the Blues suffered their first league defeat against Liverpool at Anfield. Mohamed Salah scored their only goal, with Foden's earlier effort ruled out by VAR. A second consecutive goalless draw against Dortmund in the Champions League group matches secured Man City the top position as they progressed to the knockout stages with 1 match to spare. In November, the Blues lost their final game before the mid-season break for the World Cup. They were defeated 1-2 at home by Brentford, with Ivan Toney scoring a 98th minute winner. City ended the first part of the season in second place in the league, 5 points behind Arsenal and 2 points ahead of Newcastle, but with a game in hand. Additionally, the Blues advanced in the Champions League with an unbeaten record and reached the 4th round of the EFL Cup. On the return from the World Cup in December, City beat Liverpool for the first time in 2 seasons with a 3-2 win in the 4th round of the EFL Cup, therefore knocking out the current holders and qualifying for the quarter-finals. In early January of 2023, City suffered from inconsistent form. They were knocked out of the EFL Cup by Southampton in a 2-0 defeat at St Mary's Stadium and dropped league points against Everton and Manchester United, allowing Arsenal to open up an 8-point gap at the top of the table. In February, City reclaimed the top spot in the league by defeating Arsenal 3-1 at the Emirates Stadium, moving ahead of them on goal difference, although Arsenal still had a game in hand. However, their lead was short-lived as their inconsistency and wasteful finishing resulted in dropping 2 points in their next away match at Nottingham Forest, where the Blues were held to a 1-1 draw. In the same month, City defeated Bristol City 3-0, advancing to the FA Cup quarter-finals. Meanwhile, Arsenal won their game in hand, stretching their lead to 5 points by early March. On 14th March, on a record-breaking night, City defeated RB Leipzig 7-0 at home in their Champions League round of 16 second leg tie to advance to the quarter-finals of the competition with an 8-1 aggregate scoreline. Just before the international break, City defeated Burnley 6-0 in the FA quarter-finals, with Haaland netting a hat-trick. Following the resumption of domestic football, City convincingly beat Liverpool 4-1 at home in early April, despite going a goal behind and missing the injured Haaland and Foden from their matchday squad. Therefore, with just 10 games remaining, City remained 7 points behind the Gunners as the league leaders. However, they still had a game in hand and a home fixture against their league rivals to help boost their chances of retaining their title. As Man City won 4-1 against Southampton, Arsenal dropped points the following day, drawing 2-2 away to Liverpool, reducing the gap to 6 points. Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Haaland secured the Blues a 3-0 victory over Bayern Munich at home in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final. As Man City secured another 3-1 victory over Leicester City, Arsenal once again dropped points the following day as they drew 2-2 against West Ham United. Man City secured a spot in the semi-finals for the Champions League after tying 1-1 with Bayern in their second leg of the quarter-finals. Later that week, unexpectedly, Arsenal drew 3-3 against Southampton. Their lead in first place was now 5 points, having played 2 more matches than City. The next game was set to be against City at the Etihad, billed as the league decider. And by the way, if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing. On the 22nd of April, Riyad Mahrez scored a hat-trick as City won 3-0 against Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-finals. On the 26th, the long-awaited match finally happened as City defeated Arsenal 4-1, reducing the lead gap to just 2 points, while also still having 2 games in hand and only 7 games remaining. In May, the Blues drew 1-1 in their away game against Real Madrid during the Champions League semi-finals. City extended their unbeaten run to 22 games and their league winning streak to 11 with a 3-0 victory over Everton. This win, along with Arsenal's home defeat to Brighton later that day, positioned City to potentially grab the league title. Later on, Arsenal lost 0-1 at Forest, and as a result, Manchester City secured a 3rd consecutive league title and 5th in 6 years, with 3 games to spare. The Blues went on to defeat Real Madrid 4-0 at Etihad in their 2nd leg of the Champions League, propelling them to the finals where they were yet to face Inter Milan in Istanbul. On 3rd June, City secured the League and FA Cup double for the 2nd time in their history by defeating City rivals Manchester United 2-1 in the first ever Manchester Derby Cup final. Ilkay Gundogan scored both goals for the Blues, with the first one coming just after 12 seconds, marking it as the fastest in FA Cup final history. On 10th June, Manchester City faced off Inter Milan in the Champions League final, aiming to end the 53-year European trophy drought and secure a continental treble, to which they did with a 1-0 victory over the Italian side. This marked the end of the 2022-2023 season for Manchester City, and also the most beautiful season any European club could ever dream of, with Manchester City securing a continental treble of the Premier League title, FA Cup, and the Champions League title under the management of Pep Guardiola, one of the greatest managers in European football.